The Chimera Ant arc, dude. I honestly feel like it's one of the best fleshed out anime arcs of all time. Like,
Yeah,
maybe not the
it's
best, but it's up
it's
there.
it's not a tournament arc.
Yeah, and the thing that's like most frustrating about it is that's the one arc that people hate in Hunter x Hunter. Like,
You
I don't
realize
know
that
why
though,
it
like
gets so much hate.
I don't agree with this, but uh I can give a point to like what they would probably think about it, or if they're not thinking about it. That was the arc that all the illness started at. Like, that's when he started those
Okay.
hiatuses. Because those are the ones that he went back and had to redraw like 10 years later. Whenever they actually released like the hard copy of like the book, the manga volume,
Yeah.
and you can see like there's just that drop in the quality of his art, and there's like it's so heavily dialogue. Like there's very little fight scenes for like 80% of it because why do I need to draw this out fighting if I can just fucking have them? There's so much diplomacy. There's so much talking. Even
Yeah.
the Netero fight, like he talks about it. He talks to Miriam so much before he even throws the first punch. Then he went back and he redrew everything, and obviously it looked like 10 times better. It's like whenever you're stuck on one arc, that probably would have taken you like maybe 2 years in real time, but it ended up taking you like closer to 15.
Yeah.
It's a little bit more understandable why people would hate it, like you're dragging on it. But the thing is, that wasn't his fucking fault. Like I was sick.
Yeah.
Like I'm sorry, like shit. Dude, Hunter x Hunter started like in '96. Started before Naruto. Started before One Piece. Started before Bleach. Do I think it would have been done by now? Honestly,
Yeah, most
yes. I feel
likely.
like there would have been like some sort of cuts he would have
And
made to it.
honestly, not just cuts, but I don't even know if we would have gotten the Dark Continent arc if he had completed it in one go. You know what I mean? Like, as far as
Yeah,
I know, the Dark Continent arc, or I'm sorry, Chimera Ant arc was supposed to be the end, right? And that looked like it was supposed to be the end, no
yeah.
matter what.
Gone found Ging. Yeah, it makes
Yeah.
sense. Like it's more like, oh, the adventure continues types ending. And I've never been a fan of those. I'm more of a fan of a definitive
Yeah.
ending, or strictly say there is going to be a sequel. A Boruto, we're looking at you. But I think because success doesn't necessarily mean length. Because yes, One Piece is like the fucking the cream of the crop right now, and it's been going on for 20 years. But you think about what was like it still is a popular series. Death Note. It's only 12 volumes, and that team of Ogata and Obito, uh, they didn't want to keep it long running. They were like, okay, this is a perfect stopping point. L had already passed on. Halfway through the series, they ended it where it ended it. That's fine. And then their next big thing, Bakuman. I don't know if you've ever seen that one. It's about those.
No,
It's
I haven't
literally
seen that one.
it's literally them. It's about a boy and his friend in high school who decided to become a manga artist and an author. So it's basically just like a retelling of their life. And that one also, it's a good story. It shows a lot how like the actual process is made. A lot of the characters are based on real writers from Jump. And there's even like the kid who's like their rival, but he's like a fucking super genius. He's supposed to be based off of Oda from One Piece, like
Mm,
because he's been writing since he was like 15.
yeah.
Um, it shows like how deadlines crunch them, how you have to
Yeah.
sacrifice your personal life to continually do. And even that one, as good as it was, it only went I think like 15 chapters, 15 volumes, and then they decided to end that. And then they just recently finished a new one. The anime just started. I don't know if Funimation's picking it up. It's called Platinum End. It's about a survival game to become God. Like 13 angels select 13 humans. They fight it out, and the winner literally will become the next god as after God like retires or whatever. And that one just ended this year, and it was only I think like 10 volumes.
Yeah.
Like they've shown that you can be incredibly popular and successful without having to do like a long running story. Like they finish their stories within 5 years sometimes, and it's like
Yeah.
you know,
And that's okay.
and,
Like, it doesn't have to
yeah,
go on for 900 episodes.
exactly. And see, the thing is with Hunter x Hunter, like they've already. Do I think it would have gone as long as it had? Again, I really don't think so because even
Yeah.
even the last couple chapters of Yu Yu Hakusho, you could already see like his star
Decline.
was ready to slip, but he
Yeah.
he decided to end that. You know what I mean?
Again, like, I don't know if we would have where we are now in Hunter x Hunter, especially in the manga. But
Yeah.
I mean, really, who knows?
I think at this
Because
point,
at the end of the day,
time.
right? Like you change your mind on stuff, right? Like, how many times do you go back on something that you've liked for a long time, or something that you created, right? Like say you wrote a story, you drew a
Mm,
character. How many times do you go back and look at that and think, well, how could I have done this better? And so, I mean,
yeah.
especially for a writer who's known for wanting to actually change shit around for the sake of making the story better. I mean, we never know what would have happened.
I mean, yeah, even think about it within the confines of Yu Yu Hakusho, like Toguro was the end all be all. He was the guy, like he was the hurdle that Yusuke had to jump. And this was far beyond, far before they even mentioned like demon rankings.
Yeah,
And then what happens whenever they decide to rank demons? He's like upper, is he upper or lower mid B?
you're talking about Tagoro,
Yeah.
like a mid B.
Yeah. And then you see like, freaking Sensui, S-class human, Three Kings, those are like monsters. Like they could have
Yeah,
swatted Toguro like a fly. It's just like, okay, well, how do I make a threatening villain without comparing them to Toguro? Introduce a ranking system. Because whenever you look at somebody like Yomi, like Mukuro, like Ryzen, and then you look at somebody like Toguro, Togoro's obviously the physically imposing figure. He's huge.
yeah,
So it's like, you have to introduce that sort of power level to like keep the guard.
yeah. And
You
you
know,
see,
it,
and that is a consistency, right? And I'm gonna get into what I was talking to you on Messenger about, right? That is a consistency among Yu Yu Hakusho, which is where I base my opinion on my Hunter x Hunter theory.
mm,
That is, I mean, don't get me wrong, right? I know that it's really, really unpopular. I'm not, I can't even say that I 100% of this or anything like that. But it's just like it's of all the theories that people have had, this is the only one that really kind of resonates with me.
well, Rain has a lot of stupid ass theories. So I mean, I don't think
Oh,
I don't think it could be more far fetched than that, my friend.
yeah. Well, I'm of the opinion that Hunter x Hunter is one with Yu Yu Hakusho, and at some point, that's what happened. Demon World was raised up, or the human world was dropped into the demon world, and so now we have humans just in a world where they really just can't compete. You know what I mean?
I mean, thinking back to Yu Yu Hakusho, we didn't see a whole lot of Demon World, even though there was an entire arc
Yeah,
dedicated to it. It was mainly, focused on the three kingdoms themselves and, the final tournament venue. So the fact that it was kind of in that like sort of parallel Earth thing, more like Hollow Earth, like from, King Kong versus Godzilla, where they go inside Earth and there's like that whole other world.
yeah.
Um, it's a dark continent. It's a pretty big landmass, so maybe it could hold some, weight. But uh, a lot of authors often do their worlds within other worlds. That's how their crossovers manage to work. Like Doctor Slump takes place in the same freaking world as Dragon Ball. So does Jocko the Spaceman and all that. So it lets them do their crossovers so easily. Dragon Ball even went a step further and had the whole universe thing, but certain characters could cross over to different universes. I think even in Hiro Mashima's Rave Master and Fairy Tail, they did a crossover that was like supposedly canon, like it all takes place within the same world. So, I mean, it's. I'm not gonna say it's a strong possibility, but there is enough of a possibility that it could make sense, and I don't think people could be too mad at that. I mean, the biggest argument I could see was like, oh, well, how come Spirit World didn't intervene? Blah blah blah. It's just like, well, maybe the threats were just out,
Maybe
outside their
Spirit World
paywall.
no longer in control
Exist?
of shit. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
And
Even
that's
even the even their special Spirit Force task was like, oh, we can't even stop like AA classes, like so.
yeah. But if
What
you look
can
at
you?
all the images, right, there are clear indications of civilizations within the Dark Continent. Like the
Hmm.
image itself, right, the black and white of all the different monsters and shit, and the world tree. It shows graveyards. It shows like castles. It shows all that shit. And it even shows like a flying saucer kind of, I don't know, just it shows all that shit, right? So who inhabits those?
Exactly. There has to be some sort of social hierarchy there. Maybe it's beyond the understandings of the denizens of like the regular world, but it exists for a reason. Of the people who went, the people who survived and came back,
Yeah.
I think it was like less than three. That one guy came back in a state of pseudo immortality, but he was basically a plant.
And
So I
that
couldn't even
the plant
communicate
that
him.
resembles the sinning
Sinning
tree
tree. Yeah,
so much.
exactly. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's a baseless theory because I do think
Oh,
there
it
are
feels
threads there.
baseless if I'm being honest.
I think that there could be threads
I'm
if he
definitely
chooses
talking
to
out of my
connect it
ass
that way.
here, but this is the only one I'm ever gonna do it on. Mostly because I know I'm fucking years away from an answer.
Right. I mean, his wife did confirm, unfortunately, if it does pass, that she's allowed to do what she wants with it. So hopefully, should put it in good hands. But
Yeah.
I think that this theory holds more fucking water than Rain's ridiculous theory about Endeavor being Deku's dad. I think that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life.
Endeavor?
Yes, and if
I
you're
haven't heard
listening
that
to this,
one.
Rain, I'm sorry. Well, because you know how like they do the quirk marriages to get like the best part of your quirks passed down to your kids.
Yeah.
He said that since Deku's mom has like the power to like basically gravitate small items to herself, but the father had the ability to spit fire, but they never showed it. They showed like a silhouette. He's like, oh, that makes sense that Endeavor would be his dad. And I was just like, well, first of all, I don't think they've ever shown Endeavor actually spit fire. And second of all, don't you think like somebody as famous as Endeavor would be like, wow, that's my boy, look how strong he is now. I think that's ridiculous. And just like he honestly believes this. Like this isn't a joke to him. Like he really does believe it. And just like I'm telling you, man, whenever they show this, blah blah blah. I was like, okay.
I
The
haven't heard that
second
one.
they said that, they say that I am all for it, man. I'm gonna be like, all right, he was wrong. He was right the whole time, guys. No, that's ridiculous. Like
Yeah, I
that's
haven't heard that
all
one
right.
at all.
I mean, if you have any like crazy like end theories or like deep dive theories on like anything, like it doesn't have to specifically be manga, anime, movies, whatever.
Yeah.
Um, sound off in the comments below. Let us know. Like this is some crazy. I mean, some of them aren't that ridiculous. Like some of them are like, well, if I really thought about it, then maybe. Yeah, like some of them like that. Like that's ridiculous. And like, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I can't buy into that one.
And
No, we already.
a lot of like my theorizing, like my love for theorizing, like of course don't get me wrong, right? I still love doing it. It's just I lost a lot of it whenever Game of Thrones went down.
Yeah.
Like
This is those.
it
Well,
was
because those
such
theories
a
were.
disappointment.
The reason is those theories were correct, and then it didn't fucking matter. That's the problem. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I just want to say that right now, and I want this to be on the record because I know somebody's gonna call me out for this shit.
Yeah.
But whenever your theories are actually correct and they do nothing with it, then it doesn't fucking matter. What point of it is like I pulled the threads, I followed the clues, I did the codex, and then it had absolutely zero impact whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like what's the point?
And so that's why with this one, right? Like it can go in any direction. Nobody knows what to expect from this. Nobody has the experience except for a very few amount of people. Two of which maybe are still alive. You know what I mean? There's Zig and there's hors d'oeuvre, but like, Zig may be dead. Zig may be Maha. Who knows?
And you said that you do believe that Dawn is still alive, right?
Don Freaks, yeah, I think Don Freaks is still alive. Because why wouldn't he be, right? Like if he has the rice, there's no reason he wouldn't be alive.
If he was able to do all that and still survive, right, enough to like actually complete a logbook, it makes sense.
Well,
Who knows?
Not just that, right? Because obviously he's been alive over hundreds of years already. Anyways,
Yeah,
like
we've seen in Hunter x Hunter that lifespans are able to be like significantly extended with the power of Nen and all that, but the whole point of those that kingdom going is that guy's looking for like immortality, isn't he? Like the king.
well, there's the nitro rice, right? Like I think that's what it's called, the nitro rice. So that is the assumption as to why Netero and hors d'oeuvre were able to live so long, and of course Don Freaks, is because they are one of the only ones that have ever actually gone to the Dark Continent, right? So they may have got their hands on it, which of course would have extended their lives. So if Don's already aware of that, and he's strong enough to have survived so long so far, why would he be dead? It would just be like be such like a shot to the gut, right? Like you get there and you find out, oh well, he actually did die. It was another stronger monster, and you're just like, well, he survived so long already. I don't know. Just me personally, I'd be a little bit disappointed, but whatever. But that's
Yeah.
what I mean is like there's really so much that it could go into, and of course my biggest one is how do you get to the Dark Continent and continue to care about all your personal qualms, right? Like if the
Mm.
only thing that you can hope to achieve there is survival, what is all of your personal cares going to really be about? I can't see like Hisoka being there and wanting to fight other people with all this other shit going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's
Stuff
he's
like
probably
that.
gonna find. I honestly feel like with what he's gone through, I think for one, his Nen is definitely gonna be stronger because he did die. But I think he's gonna find like a challenge in some creature or person there that's just really gonna ignite that like bloodlust in him, and he's just gonna go like straight for it. Who knows? Maybe he snipes a couple of
Yeah.
uh members along the way. But I don't think that it's gonna be like his main like focus during it. And like he said himself, he's just like, I'm not gonna let you set up. I'm not gonna let you set the tone anymore. He's like, I'm gonna fight my battles on
My
my terms.
terms.
When I,
And
yeah,
honestly, I feel like he'll kill the entire troop before they even get to the Dark Continent. And I'm not sure about
including Crollo.
Crollo.
Yeah,
That's
I
the
was
only
like,
one that's
okay.
like, well, I don't. What point? What purpose is he going to serve on the new continent?
Crollo specifically, I mean,
Yeah.
maybe like they find their own because I think it's gonna be like a similar thing with Meteor City. Like, oh, maybe they can make like this will be our kingdom, this will be our land. I mean, like, yeah, like you said, like, what goal do you really have there? Because, obviously certain hunters will be there to study the land, study plants, study the animals, but it's like,
You think
they
they're
all know
going
what
there
they're saying.
to repurpose their group? Is that what you're saying?
Uh, I don't know, maybe. Like,
Because there's no
I felt
return
like
trip, right? I
it
mean,
wasn't
my understanding
guaranteed.
is that there's not
Yeah,
really a plan for a return trip.
yeah,
Like the people who
basically,
get there are there.
hmm. That's why it's like, it was like a sort of waiver thing, like a complete voluntary, like, yeah, we can't even, apparently they can't even guarantee your life to there, like, because,
Yeah.
yeah, so much things are happening. But, yeah, I think the only reason that kingdom was so heavily involved is because they were funding everything. But
And that like what you just said, right, with so much going on right now, that is the whole reason I love his writing style. There is so many strong characters,
hmm,
so many strong abilities. There's Nin flying left and right. But one of the best arcs that I've seen in a long time is the Succession War, which is like maybe 75% politics and arguing amongst one another, and being smart and using your wits to kill people. And it's like, I don't know, it's so cool because the guy writes in a style where yeah, all this power is available, but it's not necessarily what's going to get you through alive.
exactly.
And so you don't see that in a whole lot of shows. Like look at Black Clover, right?
Hmm,
Black Clover is almost directly, how strong are you?
yeah.
Oh, you're really strong. That's cool. I guess you're gonna live.
There's a lot of people who don't like Fairy Tail because they like compare it negatively against Black Clover, and I'm like, dude, like at a certain point they're almost the exact same show
Yeah.
because don't get me wrong, I definitely enjoy both of them, but at a certain point Fairy Tail just became like ass pull out of ass pull, like my
Yeah.
power combined with this power, and it's just like literally just making them up as they go. Like
It's
Black
top
Clover,
decking
yes,
Blackluster Soldier is what it is.
yes, and Black Clover definitely does the same thing, but at least they had like the whole Grimoire, like, oh, you get another page, you get another spell, blah blah blah. And Asta was like completely opposite of everybody else. He's like, I'm anti-magic, this and
Mm-hmm.
that. Like they gave him a different enough ability that it wasn't like super ridiculous. Like, is he Magic Naruto? At a certain point, yes, but it's like, I don't know, like I still enjoy it at least. Like, and see, the
Yeah.
thing is I'm definitely at a point where it's like this is supposedly the last arc in Black Clover, so I'm like, fine, I can finish it. Like I'm fine with that. Like I can finish it and just be like, all right, I'm done. Whether or not I recommend it to anybody else is a completely different argument. But yeah, specifically for Togashi's art style, his writing style, it's like, yeah, he does so much emphasis on the world building and just, so many powers do so many different things. Like
Yeah.
it's very, very, very rare that you'll ever see like two powers that can exactly do like the same thing. Everything is like
Yeah.
so unique. You never really know what you're gonna get. Even even within the princes, right? Because they all had the guardian Nen beast given to them from that pot. But then
Yeah.
whenever they actually develop their own Nen, you're like, okay, well now I have two different things to worry about.
Oh yeah.
Those power, yeah, those powers have been so varied and like ridiculous. Like some are good, some are bad, but it's just like okay, like we're not looking at the same thing here.
Yeah. And there's actually one of the videos I watched this last week. There's a channel called Rash Plays. He goes over
Mm.
all the different monsters in the image itself that we're referring to with the Dark Continent. It's got all the demons and like the big lurking creatures, the dragon in the water, the Godzilla walking on land, all that kind of stuff. And
Mm.
he actually applies like a Japanese demon to most of these. And so that's another thing that kind of, keeps me interested in that whole demon aspect is this guy literally goes through and he applies a lot of these creatures to like existing demons within Japanese lore,
Mm.
and religions. And so I know a lot of these things they always have to come from something, and just if if they are actually based on Japanese demons doesn't mean that it's technically demon world. I get that, but I mean, this is my one conspiracy, so I'm holding on to it. My one theory.
I mean, like if Togashi ends up making some sort of thing like,
Ah,
oh, this world, okay, even if they get to the point of the Dark Continent that they meet some creature, some being, or even some human who is capable of human speech or some sort of telepathy, and you're just like, are we here? Are we the Dark Continent? And he says, oh, we go by many names, and then Demon World is listed as one of them. Then I'll be like, all right, that's fine. Yeah, I don't even need another explanation. Because there's been tons of things that do that sort of thing, like, oh, you can call it what
oh.
you want. We go by all these, blah blah. The Liberator, the Destroyer, whatever. Like, I'd be fine with that.
Well, I mean, you can even see the direct relation to it all. I mean, you don't even have to hear it. You can look at the images and see that there is correlation. It's just what is that correlation? Is it just those are natural things within the world that happen to be the same across Demon World,
Disasters, yeah.
or are they actually restricted just to Demon World alone? You know what I mean? Just in general.
Hmm.
I mean, but yeah,
I mean,
I mean
even
that's
in
my
even in Yu Yu Hakusho, though, they had like the net that was supposed to keep demons, the bigger threats
yeah.
out, but the smaller ones could slip through. But even a smaller one could be, tremendously threatening if the certain circumstance. Look at the Makai insects. That was from like Suzaku, who was like a C class.
Yeah.
It was enough to infect, most of Tokyo, so it was going to be, pretty planet threatening eventually. How they spread.
Not to mention all of the direct references to Yu Yu Hakusho within Hunter x Hunter. Of course, they're going to be there, but one of the blaring
Mm.
ones was Suzaku in Chrollo's book of people
Yeah,
he's taken their abilities.
abilities from yeah.
So I mean, I get that it could just very well be a fucking cameo little thing, but still.
I feel like that's a harder cameo than like the Pooh, phone strap or
Yeah,
the
it's
or the
literally
EA
in the
figure.
book of people
Yeah,
he has stolen abilities from. You know what I mean? It's not the same as like being a little figurine. It's literally
exactly.
saying he has Suzaku's ability. So what happens
Yeah,
when he pulls out fucking, thunder rod out of his fucking hair and starts
exactly.
lightning bolting people?
Or
Um,
like, or Hisoka actually manages to kill him, and he's like, "Good, you did it once. Can you do it 6 more times?" And he has the seven
yeah.
Suzaku's pyramid.
I'm just saying, like, if
Ooh.
some shit like that happens, I'm gonna fucking
So
freak out.
yeah, no, definitely, yeah.